I'm going to go to JJ, Liverpool fan. What you saying, mate?
What's going on? What's going on? How you doing, Terry, man?
I'm good, brother. Give me your thoughts on it. Firstly, welcome to making your debut on the Football Terrace. I've not seen you before, I don't think. So welcome. Give me your thoughts on the performance, the outcome, and obviously being 4 points behind City already.
I mean, where to start? I mean, no, let me try to be a bit positive. So the performance in the first 20 minutes was a bit, maybe 30 minutes was a bit better than it was against Fulham. There was a bit more intensity to our play. We did start on the front foot. That very, very quickly changed. Ran the back, we're passing it around really, really slow. There's no, like, as Rat said, the intensity to our games really, really dropped off. I was going into this game thinking, you know what, like, poor game against Fulham. We didn't turn up, but we didn't lose. We showed a bit of character there. We come into this game now, and I mean, still, there wasn't that bite from the team. I saw Verge looking, and I'm the biggest Verge fan, but he's looking, he's more stressed out than usual. You see him barking out orders, he's shouting. Usually he's the most calm player on the pitch. I'm looking around now, and I don't see where our style goes and how it's conducive to going and challenging City and overcoming that 1 point margin that we've always lost to. When you look at the season we've won the league, and I'm going to say this straight out, we went and won the league when City were poor, when they had injuries, when they fell off, when they started really, really slowly, and we blitzed teams. And it got to a point where it was like, we just won every game. Now, every season, we're dropping off by 1.2 points. This 4 points now does suggest to me that, I mean, for me, the league's done. The league is done because we've dropped 4 points now. We're going to drop more points in the future. City can go on runs, and we've seen it, 10, 12, 11, 12, 13 games where they don't lose. Now, does that mean we're going to go and finish out the top four? Like, no, let's calm it down. But there's a serious conversation to be had about how do Liverpool make that next step and prevent City from doing a three-peat, a double, and do it going on a double themselves. I mean, it is stressful. But as Rack said, I'm not going to throw my toys at the pram at the moment. But
I get, but yeah, you're not going to do it straight away. But I get where you're coming from. You know, we've had Dom Hussam on the show this summer. He has been cooked by Liverpool fans for being angry that more purchases weren't made. Do you think that's what this comes down to? Make it. I know you've got 7 injuries, which is excessive, but is this a case of instead of just buying youngsters, if you'd have gone out? I mean, I have read something from Franz Fletcher that Mateus Nunes is about to sign for Wolves for £45 million. There's Casado available. Basuma was available this year. Yuri Tillemans has been available this year. Should Liverpool have gone out and bought more players, in your opinion?
I mean, 100%. You look at last season, the season that we went and competed on all fronts, and do you know what I mean? We're challenging for the quad, even though we didn't get it. Our squad was at its strongest in terms of depth. In terms of, we might have not had the quality, but we had Minamino, we had Origi, we had Nico Williams that we didn't send out on loan, we had Nat Phillips. You go and look at these players now. We got rid of a lot of those players and haven't replaced them. Now you look at the midfield situation. I mean, you can argue and say, yeah, we could get a player in, and yeah, we would have had a body in this game, right? But what we've seen is we've gotten a KR, we've gotten an Ox, we've gotten a Thiago, replaced Genie with these players. And now you're looking at it, and is that going to go and change the way we go and play? No, it just means we've got a bigger pool of players. Now you've got the issue of player kind of, do you know what I mean, that satisfaction and then giving them game time. Klopp doesn't really like that, and he was complaining a lot last season about the depth that he had. I mean, wow, I can't give Minamino time, etc., etc. It's a system issue. It's a system issue because you're relying on players like Thiago in your system now, where he's coming out and talking about, I mean, I've learned to run under Klopp. Like, honestly, we have to scrap that because you're looking at a City team, and the way they go and play football means that when they come up against teams, they don't have to be as intense because they keep the ball. We play such a high line that it's like, you know what, play that ball in behind you. We're going to go and use our pace to go and, you know, retrieve the ball back. And it's like this controlled chaos as opposed to just control. And you've even seen it. Although, Terry, you've said we've kept the ball, we dominated really well. We always looked under threat under Palace. It didn't look like Palace had no threat. It didn't look like Palace had no outball.
But one of the things that, listen, it's sometimes so hard to criticize Liverpool. The Football Terrace has got a really good community of Liverpool fans, but you do get those guys that, because they watch probably too much of the channels where everything is spun as positive all the time, you say you're a little bit susceptible to counter attacks. No, no, no. It's the way we play. We do it on purpose to lure teams in and count them, then catch them. Bruv, like, again, nearly every goal you concede is to a counter attack. And there's nothing like I look at Jurgen Klopp sometimes and think, why don't you against certain teams like tonight, you're against Palace, they're full of pace, full of skill on the counter. Why don't you sit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards deeper as an example? I think buying more players helps, but it's adjusting that system ever so slightly to make it work. When you're a possession-based system like Pep, I kind of get not changing it. But even with him, there's times where he's lost games in the Champions League because he hasn't kind of changed up a little bit. And sometimes that's where Jurgen Klopp can be frustrating. And look, Van Dijk isn't as formidable as he was 3 years ago. Listen, he's still probably the best centre-back in the world. But that's 2 games in the opening 2 games running now, opening games of the season, where I feel like he has been culpable for goals being conceded, turned inside out by Mitrovic, and tonight just should have got closer and quickly closer to Zaha and didn't. And again, if that was any other defender, they'd be getting ridiculed. I know he's been the best in the world for a few years, but he needs that criticism as well. And there's those little things just kind of letting Liverpool down. And you're still going to come in the top 2, in my opinion, no matter what. But you know as well as I do, bruv, your football club only deals in trophies. And if you're coming second, you're failing. And like, what would you do between now and the end of the transfer window to try and change this if you were in charge, mate?
I mean, I'd get a player in. I'd get a couple players in 100%. If I had just, the big treasure box, I'd go and get a midfielder and get a forward, because clearly there's an issue in regards to fitness, and you can't go and rely, especially in the midfield, for how good Thiago is. You cannot go and rely on him. He's become so integral to our play that we just can't play our proper game without him anymore. And that's the worrying thing. You have a Keita there. He's always unfit. And I know last season people will say, you know what, he was available for more games. He had a decent season. But I'd counter that and say, no, he was just more available than he was any other season. He wasn't standout. He wasn't great. He scored a goal in one game and then conceded in the other game. I think getting a midfielder is crucial. I think it is.
Mate, completely agree with you. Listen, JJ, great debut, brilliant thoughts and feelings, mate. It's good to hear a fan come on actually give opinions. It's rather than trying to be a pundit per se, which I absolutely love, bruv. Definitely get you on again soon, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate it, Terry.
Man, cheers, my guy. Listen, if you want to phone into the Terrace, that is how you do it. Have